All right, this video is going to be a little different. It's about Instagram strategy, but also something bigger. It's about my split personality that I have in the last few years on Instagram. And I know I'm not the only one struggling with this. It came up in my workshop multiple times. How do you balance multiple projects and still build a personal brand that makes sense? Because let's be real, if you check my Instagram, you might think this guy helps people make more impact and build a personal brand, but he is not a big influencer himself. What's up with that? And yes, you're right, but here's the thing. I don't need to be a big influencer, and neither do you. See, I've been in digital marketing for more than 17 years. I didn't need a big Instagram presence to get clients because I was a lot active in corporate environments. I built a few businesses, I scaled a few brands, and I run countless campaigns. What I learned is that I didn't have to just follow trends, but I needed to understand what was actually working in the long term. And what works isn't chasing engagement, but it's building the right audience and position yourself correctly. So this video is part Instagram strategy, part personal journey, because the past few years I've been balancing multiple brands, different audiences, and different missions online. So if you're running multiple projects and struggling with how to structure your Instagram, then this video is for you. If you like what you see, subscribe to the channel or give a comment or like this video. Now, a lot of people think they need to go viral and gain tens of thousands of followers to be successful online. But let's do a simple math. If you need 100 clients per year, you don't need 100,000 followers. You only need 2,000 to 5,000 highly engaged followers spread across different platforms. That means for each client who signs up, you only need 20 to 50 engaged people who resonate with your content. And that's where my experience in digital marketing comes in. Over the years, I've seen businesses waste thousands on ads, influencers, and engagement hacks that don't actually convert into clients. So instead of worrying about going viral, focus on building a real audience of people who actually care. So let's talk about that split personality disorder. Over the last few years, I've been living a little bit with that. Let me explain. So on one side, I run the True Impact Club, where I help well-being entrepreneurs and conscious leaders to grow their businesses and make a bigger impact. On the other side, I run an event production company. And within that company, we have two projects. One is Lose Control Party, and that is an electronic music event. And let's be honest, it has nothing to do with conscious leadership. And the second one we just launched is Wild Flow. And this is a more conscious event, a movement-based music experience. And yeah, I'm also a DJ, so my online presence is kind of complicated. So one day I'm talking about scaling purpose-driven businesses, and the next day I'm promoting a party where people, literally lose control. And that's where my struggle began, because I was living in two worlds that felt completely the opposite. And this has been, in a way, my struggle for years. Just not being sure if I took the right choice. Do I keep everything separate? Do I combine everything into one account? How do I make sure my brand makes sense? If you ever ask yourself these questions, keep watching. And as some of you know, I also run a podcast, Awake Insights. And I asked myself the question, what am I going to do with this? I can also make a separate profile for Awake Insights and post all the content, the short clips, the interviews on that profile. Now, I decided to not do that. I decided to integrate that in the True Impact Club profile because the podcast is a part of that. And also, I believe that it's not necessary to split it up because all the content is targeted to the same audience. And I think it would be a good idea to separate those profiles once your podcast starts really taking off. I would say from 5,000 to 10,000 subscribers, I think that is a good time to split it up. And just make sure that you already have made the profile. There is a profile available for Awake Insights, but like I said, it's not used at the moment. I see a lot of people merging all their projects into one Instagram profile. And that reason to do that makes a lot of sense. It's easier to maintain one account. You don't need to juggle multiple profiles at the same time. It makes their following account look bigger. Instead of having 1,000 here, 500 there, 2,000 there on another, you just put everything together and you look like you make a lot more impact and you have a bigger audience and you make more influence. And another is some people believe that business and personal should be all in one profile. Some people integrate their entire lives into one brand, basically. And for some people, this works. If your project is closely linked, or if you're building a personal brand around yourself, it makes a lot of sense. But here's the truth. I keep everything separate for a reason. Why? My true Impact Club audience is global. My Lose Control Party and Wildflow audience is local. So if I combined everything into one profile, I'd have to mix a global and local followers who don't actually care about each other's content. So that would hurt my engagement, basically, because half of the audience would ignore half of my posts. And this is why separating accounts is the best long-term strategy. Instead of a big random audience, I have a smaller, more engaged community. It's easy to be impressed by accounts with thousands of followers, but the real measure on influence is engagement. For example, if someone has 10,000 followers with 0.5% engagement rate, that's only 50 interactions per post. Meanwhile, if someone has 2,000 followers and a 5% engagement rate, he is getting 100 interactions per post, so that's double the engagement. So what's the conclusion here? A smaller engaged audience is way more valuable than a large passive one. So that's why engagement overrules followers every time. This is where my 17 years of digital marketing comes in, because I focus only on building real audiences and not just numbers. So over time, and certainly now with the launch of that new party label Wildflow, I discovered actually that attendees can also be interested in conscious leadership and personal growth. And that's actually where cross-promotion can be something very strategically to use. So what can I do here? I can share Wildflow content on my True Impact Club stories, because some of my coaching audiences might be interested in that as well. But on the other hand, I wouldn't post coaching tips on the Wildflow profile, because people, they expect to have information about events and they don't expect marketing strategies. So the key is here knowing when and where to connect the dots. So yeah, my Instagram might not look like the typical influencer page, and that's because I'm playing a different game here. So what does that mean exactly? So it means that more followers doesn't equal more influence. Also, a local audience is not the same as a global audience, and if you're building real brands, it's better to separate your accounts. It makes just a lot more sense. And if your audience overlap, you can cross-promote strategically. So what is it that you need to build something sustainable? What you need is a clear audience, consistent engagement, and a long-term strategy. So instead of asking, how can I get more followers? Ask yourself, how can I make more followers care? So what's your setup? Do you run multiple accounts, or do you put everything into one account? Drop it here in the comments. I'd love to hear your strategy. And if you want to have more insights about growing your company 10 times without spending more time on it, I invite you to watch the video here on this site. And if you want more insights on branding, business growth, and making a real impact, make sure to follow me and sign up for my upcoming workshop that takes place very soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.